Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Tonight on Our News, government increasing healthcare capacity. Environmentalists concerned over cargo offloaded in Grand Bahama, plus the push for more vaccinations. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis delivering his much anticipated national address last night. While no new restrictions were announced, Dr. Minnis says his administration will be increasing healthcare capacity as COVID-19 cases spike and hospitalizations hit triple digits. Jasmine Brown reports.
In his nearly 40-minute national address, the Prime Minister announced that his administration plans on tackling the current surge of COVID-19 cases by beefing up healthcare services. He admitted the system is severely strained.
In recent weeks, we have experienced a significant increase in cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. Our public healthcare system is being stretched to its limits. Our doctors, nurses, and other medical staff are doing all they can.
Since Monday, the country has recorded 426 new cases of COVID-19. Hospitalizations have hit 106, while 88 new COVID-19 cases have been confirmed. Minnis announced that for the second time in less than a year, Samaritan's Purse, the evangelical Christian humanitarian aid organization, will lend assistance to improve hospital capacity.
Given our current situation, I have once again asked them for help. Their response was immediate and without hesitation. For this, we are very grateful. Yesterday, an advanced team from Samaritan's Purse carried out a site inspection at the Princess Margaret Hospital with our healthcare officials. Their objectives were to assess the current operations in the original Samaritan Purse's medical tents and to determine how to expand this to allow for an additional 18 beds.
Minnis said the Public Hospitals Authority is also working with a donor who has offered to provide an additional medical tent.
Medical tents previously donated by the United States government for other purposes are being assessed to determine if they can be turned into negative pressure tents and used in the treatment of COVID-19 patients.
The Prime Minister also advised that the government will hire an additional 49 medical staff members, along with 111 nurses and nursing support staff to complement the staff currently dedicated to the COVID-19 response at a cost of $7.1 million. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Most of the 90 beds at Rand Memorial Hospital are filled, leaving health professionals swamped. Hospital Administrator Sharon Williams says in the most critical areas at the hospital on Grand Bahama, they're over capacity.
Our ward that deals with our critical patients are full, and that is our ICU, our ward at CAB, at the Cancer Society, and our med-surg ward. They are all full to capacity with patients waiting in our emergency room for bed space.
Officials are urging non-critical patients to seek treatment at one of the clinics on the island. 32 COVID cases are in hospital on the island. She says while they're using contingency plans to manage, they're not sure how much longer that can continue.
We can see that over the past few weeks there have been a steady increase. And if this increase continues, of course, then the government will have to look at additional assistance for Grand Bahama from any NGO or Samaritan Purse, if that is the way the government is going at the moment. But
It's not just beds in short supply. Williams says they often have to call in persons who are off and coordinate to ensure those who come to work are deployed to the most critical areas. 17 nurses on Grand Bahama called in sick yesterday, setting the hospital back. At minimum, she says 15 nurses are needed to maintain day-to-day operations. In other news, our news understands an investigation has been launched into how a boat carrying cargo infested with invasive beetles was allowed to offload on Grand Bahama. Bahamas National Trust Executive Director Eric Carey says he heard the news that a cargo ship was turned away from a port in New Orleans when it was discovered that wood on board was infested with a type of Asian beetle known for feeding on wood. According to Carey, the cargo is now in the possession of the sanitation services in Grand Bahama and has been sprayed with insecticide to prevent the chances of the beetle escaping into the natural habitat.
Unfortunately, it appears that the vessel did not declare honestly what it had on board and indicated that there was no danger associated with the cargo, and it was inadvertently cleared.
Carey says he's not sure of the species of beetle identified on the wood, but another type of invasive bark beetle is already attacking wood on Abaco.
It's very scary that something like this could happen because of the fact that this beetle could be very destructive to an already obviously very distressed pine forest system that is still struggling to figure out how it's going to recover from the devastating effects of Hurricane Dorian.
Carey says this is why import control is so important. And the Prime Minister also spending a significant portion of his national address urging Bahamians to take the COVID-19 vaccine while confirming that Pfizer will be offered to teens once the Bahamas gets doses.
I want to be very clear to all Bahamians and residents. We are in a struggle between life and death. Taking the vaccines will protect you from serious disease and death. Listening to fake news about the vaccines and not getting your shots could kill you.
The Prime Minister maintains that more Bahamians need to get vaccinated as he lamented the pandemic of misinformation.
As soon as we have supplies, the Pfizer vaccine will be offered to 12 to 17-year-olds only with the consent of their parents or guardians.
Discussions between the Bahamas and the United States about the donation of COVID-19 vaccines are ongoing, according to U.S. Chargé d'Affaires Usha Pitts. While she couldn't say when they will arrive, she noted the Bahamas will receive them soon.
Yes, absolutely. President Biden made the announcement of vaccine donations last month, and so we are in talks about getting them to the Bahamas.
No idea how early they could be here.
Well, I have an idea, but it's, I don't think you want me to give you my ideas.
Well, the mercury rising over 90 degrees today. Greg Thompson has the latest in the Weather Center.
Thanks, Christine. Welcome, everybody, for your first look at weather. Brought to you tonight by Nestum. New look, same great taste. Distributed by Light Burn Trading. Warm temperatures on the outside, 83 degrees with few clouds. Very light winds out of the southeast at 5 knots, and your feels-like temperature in the mid to upper 80s. Quiet around the islands on the satellite view. High pressure in charge. We do have some Saharan dust mixing out there as well. A couple of spotty showers across the northwest Bahamas, but all in all, a very nice evening setting up on the outdoors. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, the police chief signs an operation order for the holiday weekend, and the police force receives 20 new vehicles. That's coming up when our news returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Police Commissioner Paul Roll brushing off questions on how officers intend to police the 1-hour restriction on church services. While giving little detail, he says police are beefing up efforts this holiday weekend. Bethany McDermott reports.
Speaking on the sidelines of a handing over ceremony of 20 new police vehicles, the police commissioner was asked how the force intends to police churches, which are now restricted to 1-hour services. This after a number of church leaders came out and spoke against the move.
We're going to be policing the emergency powers. I'm not going to be focusing on any one group. And like I just said a minute ago, I encourage persons to abide by the provisions of the emergency power orders.
The health minister's announcement last week that church services are now limited to 1 hour was met with frustration by many. Bahamas Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernando told the Nassau Guardian this week the state cannot dictate to the church, adding the church plan to engage with government to have the 1 hour limit removed. To date, no changes have been made. Roll, who was also a pastor at Golden Gates Assembly, refused to provide details on how it will be enforced.
I'm not going to go into that discussion with the church and the pastors. I said already what we're going to do. Right. Let's leave that as that.
New restrictions were prompted by an alarming surge in COVID-19 cases. Hospitalizations and deaths are also up. As the holiday weekend approaches, officers are on high alert.
I just signed the operation order for the holiday this morning, and we'll be continuing our efforts and stepping it up as usual on these holidays.
Roll cautioned residents to follow emergency orders.
Still ask persons, to abide by these provisions. Those bars are prohibited, and if we find them, we'll be taking action.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Well, many Bahamians are still on the fence about taking the COVID-19 vaccine, given information about new variants and even breakthrough infections where fully vaccinated people get infected with the coronavirus. However, healthcare experts are encouraging Bahamians to weigh the possible outcomes.
This particular surge seems to be taking a greater toll.
As of Wednesday, 106 Bahamians were hospitalized with COVID-19. 11 patients are currently in the intensive care unit. Doctors Hospital CEO and President Dr. Charles Digges says we are still learning more about the variants of the virus and what expectations we should have for fully vaccinated protection.
Vaccination is not 100%, but it certainly is significant enough. Whether that is from a 60-ish to a 90-ish%, depending on which vaccination you're talking about and which variant of COVID you're talking about.
Health experts have not confirmed that the highly contagious Delta variant is in the country, but with rising COVID cases and extremely limited bed space, Dr. Digges says not being vaccinated puts individuals and the healthcare system at risk.
Bear in mind then that you're simply keeping yourself in this big pool of persons who not only can you suffer a heart attack or stroke or other things or get an accident and then become an issue that we need to manage, whether it's public or private, but you're also remaining in the pool of persons who may need a ventilator, who will then make this whole thing worse. So I think this is not beyond making sense.
The Royal Bahamas Police Force receiving 20 new police vehicles valued at $1.19 million from the United States government today. Police Commissioner Paul Roll says some of them will be sent to Abaco and Grand Bahama to replace police vehicles destroyed during Hurricane Dorian.
It's going to be New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Abaco. We still have some more in the back. Those in the back are not completed as yet. But as early as next week, I'll have to identify those areas that we're going to be putting them to, and you'll start seeing them going out to the islands by next week.
U.S. Chargé d'Affaires Usha Pitt says the donation is a small example of the successful partnership between the United States and Bahamas governments.
No matter what happens in the world, the Bahamas and the United States are always staunch allies. And today, what we're celebrating just one part of that partnership that's been going on for decades. So it's really a terrific example of our partnership.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news continues, UB announces the Franklin and Sharon Wilson Award, and Marcellus is in Tokyo with the latest in sports. Stay with us.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is our news. Welcome back. Another major leap for research at the University of the Bahamas today. A memorandum of understanding signed between the Tertiary Education Institution and Sir Franklin and Lady Sharon Wilson for awards named in their honor. The aim is to encourage students to produce full monographic studies that focus on the period of nation formation.
I have no doubt that the works that will be worthy of the Franklin and Sharon Wilson Awards in years to come will become historical and literary classics for generations of scholars both locally and internationally.
As such, the detailed scope and frame establishing the award scheme unequivocally requires scholars to address matters of national development, particularly in analyzing the socio-economic and socio-political forces that shape the emergence of the contemporary Bahamas.
The total financial commitment on behalf of the Wilson family for the first two bestowments of the award is $350,000. Lady Sharon Wilson says it is important for Bahamians to take responsibility for the country's educational institutions.
It will represent, and it is certainly our intention, and I'm sure the intention of all who are part of this, that it represents a commitment to excellence and to honoring scholars who are deserving by work that informs, edifies, and builds up the common good. And so, on behalf of my husband, on behalf of my family, I want to thank immensely the President, faculty, staff of the University of the Bahamas.
Well, no Olympic athletes in action. However, a Bahamian is on the verge of being a top pick in the NBA draft. Marcellus Hall has the inside scoop.
Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Sports once again coming to you here in Tokyo, courtesy of our friends over at J.S. Johnson. Well, it was an off day for Bahamian athletes. With track and field set to begin tomorrow, we'll fix our attention now to some NBA news, or potential NBA news, as one of our own, Kai Jones, hoping to go in the first round of the upcoming NBA draft. While most of the focus has been on these Olympic Games here in Tokyo, it is important to remember there is a Bahamian expected to be drafted in the first round of Thursday's NBA draft. Nassau native Kai Jones, who last year played for the Texas Longhorns, is widely projected to go in the first round, with one mock draft having been as high as number 11 to the Charlotte Hornets. Jones, on a recent pre-draft call, talked about his excitement of being invited to the green room, which is reserved for top prospects.
No, I'm really excited. I just can't wait to live out my dream, you know what I mean? Just going to the green room, being in New York. All my family's going to be there, so it's just a blessing. It's a huge blessing, and I'm just really excited for it.
Jones says getting to the NBA was always the goal.
But I knew I was going to get there. In my head, I just was trying to get a scholarship at the time and continue to be the best version of myself every day. But the NBA was for sure in my sights, but I didn't think it'd be as quick. I put in a lot of work, and I got better really fast.
As for what this means for the Bahamas basketball program at the national team level, Jones feels that the Olympics in 2024 a very real possibility.
By that time, I'll be 23, a real grown man. I'm going to be a problem. Aiden's going to get better. Buddy Hield's going to be better. So I think we're going to be an issue for real. And hopefully Clay will be able to play. But yeah, we're going to have a solid team, man. We're going to have more than enough to qualify for the Olympics and medal. I think we can put something together for sure.
So the best of luck to Kai Jones. We'll see exactly where his NBA career kicks off. Speaking of kicking off, the track and field will kick off here in Tokyo tomorrow. We'll see exactly how our Bahamian athletes do as the preliminary rounds of the 100 meters will start things off. Reporting from Tokyo, I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you.
Up next, the drink that takes you back in time. Find out more after this.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Welcome back to our news. How long will the heat last? Greg has a look ahead in the Weather Center.
Thanks again, Christina. Welcome back, everybody, for your Thursday's second look at weather. That high pressure ridge remains anchored across our area, continuing to dominate our weather for the next couple of days with some nice conditions. Hot temperatures expected. We have a couple isolated showers to the north of the Bahamas associated with a low pressure system in the mid and upper levels moving out. Another one will be approaching the southeast Bahamas over the next couple of days. Meanwhile, the tropics remaining quiet, couple of tropical waves, but nothing really organized over the next 5 days. Beaching and boating weather for the northwest and central Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. Southeast and southerly winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. While in the southeast Bahamas, we have that caution flag still posted. East to southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, 4 to 6 foot seas. Tide is presently low, will be high shortly after midnight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now to extended forecast through Tuesday. That's a look at our weather. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Ever wanted to travel back to a time before COVID-19, even just for a moment? Well, in tonight's edition of Thirsty Thursdays, the bartender down at Traveler's Rest introduces us to the Time Traveler. Our Jillian Gray takes a sip.
So what are you making for us here today?
Okay, so today we're making the Time Traveler.
It's the drink that takes you places. General Manager of Traveler's Rest, Dion Haven, says they wanted to create a signature drink that transports their customers to better times.
Why Time Traveler? You know, Travelers came out a few decades ago. Let's say back in time before there was COVID, before there was the face mask and stuff like that. So when you drink this drink, we want you to feel like you're back in time, no restrictions, you're having a good time, conversation, you're gonna have great food, take this drink in afterwards,
So this drink takes you places?
This takes you wherever you wanna go.
A blend of vodka, Saint Germain, cranberry juice, and lemonade, the Time Traveler is a refreshing summer drink that has notes and flavors from local summer fruits.
This is local mango, fresh. And also we're gonna garnish it with star fruit. I got it off my tree this morning as I walk with the yard. All right?
So way to use the local...
Always good to use local ingredients.
After a good shake, it was time to taste.
Tell me how the Time Traveler tastes. It's refreshing. It's really refreshing. I like it. Yeah, you get those notes of the mango and... you taste the mango. You can taste the lemonade. It's like a little lemonade-y, I like it. It's really... It's like a lemonade mango cooler. Right, and it's not too strong on the alcohol, so you can drink this and be safe to go home. You can travel, but not too far. Right.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
Welcome back, Jillian. Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.